Shalom, shalom, shalom. I hope everyone is doing fine. I hope you had a wonderful weekend, that you were able to rest, and that you are doing well and looking forward to a prosperous week. In the teaching, the 7th day is the Sabbath. I mentioned that there were actually 8 Sabbaths, and so I just wanted to give you a introduction to the 8 Sabbaths. Now, each of these Sabbaths are teachings within themselves, but I just want to make you aware of what the Sabbaths are, and then of course you can go into your own research on these Sabbaths, because I will give you the scripture reference and you can research them for yourselves. And what I plan to do is, at the time of that feast, I would do a teaching on it, but you can always go ahead and just research it for yourself. Okay? So many do not know that there are 8 Sabbaths. And just like many do not know or may not know that YAH has his own calendar. The calendar that the world follows is called the Gregorian calendar, which was introduced to the world in 1582 by a Pope Gregory. This calendar, as we know, begins January 1st in the winter. It replaces the Julian calendar. Daniel 7:25 tells us that the fourth beast will seek to change times and laws, and he will be able to do so for a period of time and the biding of times. This is evident because the Gregorian calendar does not include YAH's Moedims, his appointed times, his holy days, and they have tried to make Easter the same time as Passover, or many persons would say Easter and Passover are the same, but they are not. Genesis 1:4 tells us that the lights were created for signs and appointments, appointed feasts and days, and for years. Now, what we have on the Gregorian calendar are holidays. They are holidays. YAH has given us holy days. They are what we call set-apart days. YAH calendars begins in the month of Aviv or Abib, which is in the spring. In the spring, everything is new. And Exodus 12:1-2, and YAH spoke unto Moses and Aaron and the land of Mizraim, Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Exodus 13:4 states, This day came ye out in the month of Aviv. So we in Israel celebrate YAH's New Year in the spring, the month of Aviv, which falls like March, April, like the end of March or early April. Okay, in the nation of Israel, we follow YAH's calendar so that we can observe his Sabbaths as he has commanded us. And I'm saying the nation of Israel specifically because we are a nation. We're not a religion. We're a nation just like all the other nations of the world. Israel is a nation. These days are referred to as YAH's feast days, YAH's Moedims, his appointed times, set apart days, holy days. These are days YAH has set apart for his people to come before him. They are also called high holy Sabbaths because they take place once a year at a particular time and day in the year, which is separate away from the 7-day Sabbath. We know that the 7-day Sabbath is the weekly Sabbath. However, the feast days are high holy Sabbaths, which fall on a regular day in the week. These 7 days are equally as important as the weekly Sabbath and are expected to be observed just like the weekly Sabbath. Like the weekly Sabbath, the high holy Sabbaths have specific instructions. In Leviticus 23, we are given the instructions and the feast days for YAH's feast days, his Sabbaths. Okay, so we have what we have feast days, and some of them are called high Sabbath days. But we will see in the scripture, because the scripture points out which days are Sabbath days. The first feast day is the weekly Sabbath, and that's really a feast. Leviticus 23:3, 6 days shall work be done, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a holy assembly. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of YAH in all of your dwelling. And we did a teaching on that already. Now, what should happen during the Sabbath is you come together for fellowship, and then you should feast, you should eat. And that's normally what's done when I used to go to fellowship. We always had a meal afterwards. Leviticus 23:4 states, in the 14th day of the first month at evening is YAH's Pesach. Pesach or Passover is not a Sabbath, but it is a feast day according to Exodus 12:14, which states, and this day shall be unto you for memorial, and you shall keep it a feast to YAH throughout your generations. Ye shall keep it a feast by an ordinance forever. You can read all of Exodus 12:13, which tells the story when Israel were leaving Mishraim. I think we all know the story of the Passover. Okay, and the bearer starts with the Gospels: Matthew 26, Mark 14, Luke 22, and John 19. We are told that Yeshua was crucified on the feast of Pesach. Yeshua was our Passover lamb. Pesach is the preparation day according to John 19:14 for the high Sabbath, the first day of Feast of Unleavened Bread. The second and third high holy Sabbath is the Feast of Matzah, or unleavened bread. The Feast of Matzah is a 7-day feast. The first day and the 7th day are high holy Sabbaths. Leviticus 23:6-7. And on the 15th day of the same month of Abib is the Feast of Pesach unto Matzah, unto YAH. 7 days ye must eat matzah. And the first day ye shall have a holy assembly. Ye shall do no civil work therein. Leviticus 23:8. The 7th day is a holy assembly. Ye shall do no civil work therein. Okay, so the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a high Sabbath. It's a 7-day feast. So the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is a Sabbath day, and the last day is a Sabbath day. Now, Pesach is the day just before unleavened bread at evening. Pesach is celebrated in the evening. And the next day is Feast of Unleavened Bread. During Feast of Unleavened Bread, we eat no leaven. Food with no leaven in it, no yeast. Okay, so you would eat for 7 days unleavened bread and food that doesn't have any yeast in it. Okay, Leviticus 23:9-14 is the Feast of First Fruits, which is celebrated the day after the last day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So the 7th day would be the last day for unleavened bread, and the next day, the 8th day, is the Feast of First Fruits. It is not a Sabbath, but it's a statute to be observed forever throughout your generations. Okay, during Feast of First Fruits, you would bring a special offering before the Father. The fourth high holy Sabbath is the Feast of Shabbaths or Pentecost, and we did a teaching on this already. As it is known, Feast of Shabbaths is observed 50 days after the Feast of First Fruit. So first fruit, and then you would count 50 days. And on the 50th day, that would be Pentecost. Leviticus 23:15-6, and ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering. Count 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. Even unto the morrow after the 7th Sabbath shall ye number 50 days. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto YAH. Now, if you remember in the book of Acts, when Yeshua left, he told them to wait Okay, and they waited for 50 days, which was the feast of the day of Shabbaths, and that's when the YAH descended and gave them power. Okay, the fifth high holy Sabbath is the feast of Yom Torah, or the feast of trumpets. Leviticus 23 to 25 states, "And YAH spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, in the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of the shofarat, or the trumpets, a holy assembly. Ye shall do no civil work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto YAH. The sixth high holy Sabbath is Yom Kippur, or Day of Atonement. Leviticus 23, 26 to 28, "And YAH spoke unto Moses, saying, Also on the 10th day of this 7th month is Yom Kippur. It shall be a holy assembly unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto YAH. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is Yom Kippur, to make an atonement for you before YAH come. On Yom Kippur there is no eating or drinking, from the evening of the 9th day to the evening of the 10th day." Leviticus 23 and 32. So, Feast of Atonement, or Yom Kippur, is the only Sabbath, only feast day that there is absolutely no eating or no drinking. It is the day of fasting, where you would just spend before the Father in repentance and making and prayer. Okay? The 7th and 8th feast, Sabbath, is the Feast of Sukkot, or Tabernacles, Feast of Tabernacles. Leviticus 23, 33 to 34, "And YAH spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Sukkot, for 7 days unto YAH. On the first day shall be a holy assembly. Ye shall do no civil work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto YAH. On the 8th day shall be a holy assembly unto you, and you shall offer an offering made by fire unto YAH. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no civil work therein." Verse 39 states that the first day is a Sabbath, and the 8th day is a Sabbath. So that's for the Feast of Sukkot, or Feast of Tabernacle. The first day is a Sabbath, and the 8th day is a Sabbath. So that would make up the 8 Sabbaths of YAH. Okay? So these are the 8 Sabbaths of YAH. The New Year, Pesach, and Feast of Matzah, or Feast of Unleavened Bread, are known as the Spring Feast of YAH. Okay? And Yom Torah, Yom Kippur, and Feast of Sukkot are known as the Fall Feast of YAH. And as you can see, the Father is very specific regarding what he desires for his feast. He laid it all out. The days, the time, what you're supposed to do, and everything. Okay? And what he wanted us to celebrate, he told us. Okay? He told us what he wanted us to celebrate. So we don't have to wonder about that. It's in the scripture. Ezekiel 20 and 12 states, "Moreover, I give them Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they may know that I am YAH that sanctify them." YAH, I want you to remember this, keeps his moedim. He keeps his appointments. He moves in his times and seasons. So it is very important that we too keep YAH appointments, which are his Sabbaths and feast days. No, Yeshua did not do away with these holy days. No, they were not nailed to a tree when Yeshua was crucified. Leviticus 23 and 21 and verse 41 tells us that these feast days should be a statute forever in our dwelling throughout your generations. These feast days were given to Israel, the natural Israel. And I'm saying that because I want to emphasize that Israel is a people, a real people. We are the people. You know, there's a notion or an idea in the Christian church that there's a spiritual Israel. And someone said to me, oh, nobody can say that they're Israel. No one can identify. And there's a scripture that said that the Jews would be converted to Christianity. Well, I asked them to please send me that scripture. I'm still waiting for that. So there's no spiritual Israel. Okay? Just as the Father could tell you specifically what he wanted you to do for his feast days, and he knew who he was speaking to, you don't think he know that there would be the people all these years later? You understand? We sometimes think that we act as if the Most High is retarded. Like he didn't know what he was talking about. Like he didn't know the future. Like everything takes him by surprise. He knew when he spoke these words who he was talking to. You know, and so what man has done is try to interpret it and try to explain. You don't have to explain that. See how clear that is? That's very clear. A child can understand that. And so you follow the script like I always say. Don't let no one tell you, oh, that was for them. And no, that's for us. That's for Israel. And we are keeping those days. Okay? These holy days are law. They are law. You see, an everlasting statute to be done forever in your generations. And very important to the culture of Israel. You see, and that's why you have some persons have a wrong idea because they think in just spiritual. And so because Yeshua died, that means you don't have to do it no more. No. That's why I keep saying there's no spiritual Israel. Okay? There's a spiritual side in Israel. We are spiritual being, but we are natural as well. Okay? And so it was for us to do. They are part of the covenant between YAH and Israel, which distinguish Israel from other nations. All the other nations have their feast days and things that they did, and this is what the Father said he wanted Israel to do unto him. That's what we're supposed to do. Okay? Because we're a nation. The Canaanites, the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Moabites, they all were doing their thing. And Yah said to Israel, the descendants of Jacob, this is what I want you to do. These are the feast days that I want you to keep. Okay? So, they're the 8 feasts. You can find them in Leviticus 23. And you will see reference of them throughout the scripture. Now, what I am going to do is put in the description a link where you can order the calendar. I have a Hebrew calendar. So if you're interested in having a copy of a calendar, even if it's not for this year, for the year 2021, you can go to that link and you will be able to order a calendar. Okay, so that will help you to remember the days because everything is marked on the calendar, the year. According to Israel year, I think it's 5 something. Everything is on that. All of the days, the feast days, everything is marked out. Okay? And so, like I said, you can go and research it for yourself. Go to Leviticus 23, and it's there for you to follow. So those who want to follow, who are desiring to keep Yahweh's feast and serve him in spirit and in truth, this is all a part of serving Yahweh. Being obedient to him, following his statutes and his commandments. There are no debates, no discussions. It's about acting, hearing, being obedient. That's relationship. That's your choice. Okay? But if you want to be in right standing with Yah, then you can keep his feast days. You see? And the Gregorian calendar, we make a point to keep the Christmas and the Easter, and we make a big deal out of it. And then we try to attribute it to him. Which, and you see, he never said nothing about no Christmas. Never mentioned Easter. Valentine's, none of those things. He gave us 8 feast days. And all except one is supposed to be eaten with food and wine. Except the only one that is no eating is the Feast of Atonement. Okay? All the others you can eat to your heart's content. 8. So you get 8 feast days to celebrate. Okay? So what you need Christmas and Easter for? You understand? And you're doing something that's not in obedience. So line your life up with the Father if you want to serve him. See, and this is only for those who want to serve Yah. This ain't for everybody. not even in Israel, those who are obedient, those who are repentant. Because see, not all of Israel is repentant. Not all of Israel is following after the statutes and commandments of YAH. Okay? But those of us who have repented and are living a repentant life, this is what we follow. Okay? And so I want to encourage you, if you decide to have a relationship with the Most High, be obedient. Follow His laws, His commandments, and His feasts, and keep His Sabbaths. It's important. He moves within His Sabbaths, His times, and His appointments. It's very important. Keep YAH's appointment. You would want to keep His appointment. It's important. That's the only way you can know what's going on. He moved within His seasons. Okay? So, I want to encourage you again. Take it serious. Make an effort. Normally, we take our vacation times. That's how important it is. Okay? So, like I said, these feast days we have the weekly Sabbath. The first day of unleavened bread may be on a Wednesday. So on that Wednesday, I will take a day off from work. Feast of Atonement, I take a day off from work. I take a holiday to keep YAH's appointment because it's important. So I didn't expect for it to go this long. But anyway, to YAH be the glory. I just wanted to share that with you. And I do pray that you have a prosperous week. YAH bless. Shalom.